As we come together to go about the county's business, we ask for guidance and wisdom, courage to make the right decisions that would be good for our citizens and pleasing in your sight. Forgive us our shortcomings, for it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
A reminder, before we do the Pledge of Allegiance, we lost a warrior in our town, in our county, Sam Robinson. And just want to consider him this Veterans Day, the oldest veteran in Johnston County that's going on the board. Stand by. Attention. Attention on deck. Present. Ho! I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order! Ho! All right.
Resolution now.
Stand by.
I need resolution.
It's
In your packet.
it's in your packet. Let me-
Item 2.
Item 2.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, Proclamation Veterans Day 2021. Whereas for decades, America has paused on the 11th of November, the anniversary of armistice that concluded World War I, to remember and to honor our veterans of military service in proud and grateful recognition of the hardships and sacrifices by the millions of men and women who have defended our land in war and in peace. And whereas the freedoms we enjoy have been pursued and maintained at a high price, as Americans have been willing throughout our history to fight and die to preserve their individual rights as guaranteed in the United States Constitution Bill of Rights. And whereas Americans, we owe great debt to all those who have served in defense of this nation throughout generations, for their sacrifices often resulted in permanent injury or death, which have preserved our unique form of government dedicated to human rights and respect for individual and preserve our freedoms and promise of liberty as an example of oppressed persons of the world. In honor of these dedicated men and women, we pledge our continued defense of our nation so that their sacrifice will stand before the entire world as tribute to the spirit and determination of people dedicated to the principles of freedom and democracy. Therefore, we, the Johnston County Board of Commissioners, does hereby proclaim November 11th, 2021, Veterans Day in Johnston County.
Second.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Carry on. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Got a motion, got a second. All in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, first on the agenda is approval and discussion of the agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
Got a motion, got a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next on the agenda is veterans.
Can I have an agenda back?
Do what?
The agenda with the proclamation, he wants it back.
Oh, okay.
I just put that on loaner.
All righty. Next on the agenda is Veteran Service Office Proclamation for Veterans Day 2021. Robert Boyette to present. We've just presented it. Next on the agenda is consent agenda items, A through, you got it at your pamphlet?
C.
A through C. Have we got a motion?
So moved.
Second. Got a motion, got a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is COVID-19 Emergency Rental Assistance Program updates. First, we're going to hear from our favorite doctor.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Monday. So, first of all, thank you. Thank you, Chairman Stewart. I know you're leaving. I appreciate all your support of public health during this pandemic. Thank you again.
Thank you, Doctor.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Things are, as I mentioned before, looking much better. We are still, of course, in a pandemic stage, but I'm hoping that eventually we will get to an endemic stage like flu where we can manage this. And it doesn't cause so much disruption to all of our lives. When you look at all of our cases, our case numbers are going down. We're over 32,000 at this point from March of last year. If you think about this, we've been dealing with this pandemic since March of 2020. As of Friday, we had 30 people hospitalized. We have 342 deaths. We are still having some reinfections, people who have had COVID in the past and now, again, reinfected, but that's less than 1% of our cases, and our breakthroughs are less than 3% of our cases. When we look at our community transmission indicators, we're still in the high transmission, that's that red area, mainly because of our case rate. Our case rate is at 134 per 100, but if you remember just a couple of months ago, we were about 500 or 600. So that number, again, is going down, but we want that case rate to be under 10 per 100,000. Our positivity rate, the 14-day positivity rate is at about 5.4%. The 1 week positivity rate is a little under 5, so we're continuing to monitor that. And our vaccination rate, we have about 55% of our eligible population currently vaccinated. That number's not going up as much. We're giving a lot of booster shots, but not as many first doses. I can tell you last week, when Moderna and J&J had approved, at the health department we gave over 1,200 doses of vaccine last week. So we were pretty busy last week. Our hospital does now have some capacity with some med-surg beds, staying pretty full still, but they do have some capacity. So we are waiting this week to hear from the CDC approval of vaccines for 5 to 11-year-olds. And when we look at that estimate, there's about 20,000 of those kids here in our county. Of course, not all of them and their families are going to want boosters, but we're planning for that and working with our pediatricians, our family docs, and our pharmacies to get ready for that. If that is approved, we plan to have a clinic on Saturday, but of course we're waiting to hear about approvals there. We continue with testing and offering testing and continuing to encourage people to get tested if they are symptomatic or even close contacts. And monoclonal antibody therapy is a treatment for those who are positive to try to keep them out of the hospital and, of course, save lives. So we are working with our hospital and Benson Health. We have 4 sites here in our county. The hospital has an IV site that they're running 3 days a week in Clayton. They also have a site here in Smithfield. We have the site in our parking lot, our FEMA partners there, in Benson. So again, we are continuing to work with all of our partners, and I want to personally thank Kevin Hubbard and Josh Holloman, who helped us last week when we were short-staffed. They were already short-staffed, but they helped us in our vaccine clinics last week with paramedics to help us vaccinate. So let's continue to do what we're doing. We're hoping this holds during the holiday or even gets better. We are looking at trends. There may be a peak this holiday season. We hope not as much because we have more people vaccinated.
Any questions?
I've got a comment, Mr. Chairman. My wife and I were at the clinic Friday morning to get her booster, and I was encouraged by the activity. There was a lot of people there, a lot of citizens there lining up. How timely is the information? When you said 55% vaccinated, how current is that information? Is there a lag time before that's compiled? And
That's through Friday,
Okay.
the end of last week. The positivity rate, that CDC positivity rate at the 4.5%, that's actually a lag time. They usually update it daily, but over the weekend they didn't do any updates.
Right. Okay.
So our data sometimes is 3 to 4 days behind.
Your folks were doing a great job.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Mr. Law?
I did have one question. You'd mentioned the case rate and the goal to be less than 10 per 100,000. And I know our friends at Johnston Health send us something, I think, on a weekly basis about, and they have that predictive model.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any information in that predictive model that would indicate anything, any time frame that may happen? I know last time we went back up, but anything in that model?
When we're looking at that model, again, everybody's anticipating that we might have a small peak. If we do, that case rate is going to go up. But I can tell you we do have some counties in North Carolina that are now in the yellow and the orange. So their rates are going down. So I hope that in the next couple of weeks that our rate will continue to go down. Even if we get to 50 per 100,000, that's moderate. And the drops that we're seeing over the last few weeks, you know, I anticipate, you know, if things continue, that we will get there by the end of this month.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions, comments? Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
All right. Finance Director, Mr. Chad McClain.
Good morning. We had a brief update for the an ERA. So far to date, we've sent out about a little over $2.6 million in assistance. We've done about 700,000 in October. We're averaging around $30,000 a day. 825 households have been assisted so far, and we've seen a steady stream continue to roll in. The federal government changed some of the guidelines in terms of if there was any reversion of the money. One of the things that they changed is you had to have 30% actually spent, and we have met that guideline. So they'll continue to monitor that every month as they do everybody else. And so we're doing well. Like I said, I'm averaging about 35,000 a day. I think a couple of weeks ago we actually had a day where we sent out 115,000. So we're helping a lot of people. Our folks, the internal audit, Martha, DSS, and then Yardy, with their assistance, is really helping a lot of people, and it's really doing good things in Johnston County.
Any questions or comments from Mr. McClain?
Yeah, the citizen comments back, and you may or may not hear them, but is that system working well with Yardy? Are the citizens' questions getting answered in a timely manner, or are they being able to navigate through the system pretty easily?
Yeah, there's always kinks you have to work out.
Right.
I think we're working them out. We have worked them out. Yardy's being responsive. Our folks are assisting with that in some ways, with those questions as well as the reporting requirements that they have to do. But in terms of what we're doing now, I think it's working well. The numbers bear it out. The number of people we're helping bears it out. So I think it's working pretty well.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions or comments for Mr. McClain? No, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda is public comments. This is a period, as you know, anyone can address this board for 3 minutes or less on an item that is not on the agenda. Do we have anybody that'd like to speak to this board? Yes, sir, come on up.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ken Taylor, Clayton. I was going to have something just positive to say this time. I often bring up a question or concern. So I'll start my positive one. I've noticed over the last couple months the contractors have been stacking and laying out pipe along Gordon Road for the water main project. And I was walking by one of those stacks of pipe the other day. My dog and looked at the pipe. It says "Made in USA" stenciled on the pipe. Good show. I'm glad to see that we're able to source some American pipe for those projects. That was me all I had to say until I read an article on the news Saturday morning. And of course, you know, school board meetings have become contentious over the past year, even in Johnston County. This article referred to the school board in Mankato, Minnesota. The head of the school board decided somewhat arbitrarily to require persons wanting to speak at the public forum to state their home address. And there is concern by a lot of parents that when they express views that are offensive to some, what we used to call traditional family values, exposing their home address could lead to endangering their personal safety, their family's personal safety, from some of the left-wing nut jobs out there. I know in the past, for all the years I've been attending these meetings, you generally require the speaker's name and address. I think that might be something worth reconsidering, especially now that we're broadcast to the whole world. I know there's some cases where you have to swear in people to comment on a rezoning action, something like that. Perhaps if you need that information, a paper sign-up sheet could be a little more discreetly handled.
We actually addressed this last meeting.
We changed it last meeting.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Yep.
we had a lady who had the same concerns as you, and I think kind of what we were referring to is, in years past, as you mentioned, our zoning cases where it was quasi-judicial, we would state the name and address, and we just kind of kept with that format. Since we're not even doing hearings that way anymore, it's not necessary, and I think one of the commissioners brought up a good point. We'd like to know they live in Johnston County if they're approaching us, so we don't necessarily have to have the actual numbered house address. But if needed, they can always jot it down and give it to the clerk, and so we'd have it and the whole world wouldn't hear it, but good point.
Folks are one step ahead.
Tipped your hand, though, Mr. Taylor, when you said you
Wanna
saw
say
that
Gordon
stack.
Road?
No, yeah, that pipe's on Gordon Road.
And Chairman Stewart, I thought you were going to stick around long enough that one of your youngins could come in here and continue the Stewart dynasty. But I appreciate all you've done for the
Maybe they will
county.
one day.
And hope you have good success in your new endeavor.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, still public comment period. Would anybody like to address this board on an item that's not on the agenda? Seeing none. Any emails, Madam Clerk? No emails, and nobody in the hall. Okay, next on the agenda, public hearing, proposed economic development incentive grant. We'll call on Mr. Johnston. And I guess I'm opening the public hearing.
Good morning, Commissioners. Just last month, I shared with you that Johnston County has been very blessed and fortunate to have dozens of project announcements that have totaled well over $3 billion and have created thousands of jobs. I stated then and believe it more today that this is largely due to our green tape, not red tape, and pro-business leadership that you and the Commissioners prior have provided. There's a saying that if you're not growing, you're dying, and I believe that with the investment and job growth that we have seen, wouldn't have been made possible without the conservative business principles that you and our citizens hold dear. Today's project announcement allows us to continue this job growth journey, and again, allowing our residents the opportunity to have those high-paying jobs right here at home. I'm honored to stand before you in this commission to present you a project for your consideration. It is Advanced Tech's desire to build and invest and build a state-of-the-art advanced manufacturing facility here in Johnston County located on US 70 Business in the ETJ of the town of Smithfield. It is Advanced Tech's desire to not only construct an approximately 40,000 square foot manufacturing complex, but also partner with Johnston County in the newly created and implemented spec building lease program at a reduced rate that will allow our market, allow our office to market nearly 70,000 square feet of space for future employees, employers considering Johnston County and the Triangle region. In addition to the over $10 million investment, Advanced Tech is projected to create over 25 new jobs in the foreseeable future with an average salary of over $125,000. That's almost triple of what our average salary for our Johnston County residents have today. As I've mentioned to you many times and would like to reiterate to our tax-paying citizens that any economic development incentive offer comes with no risk to the taxpayers, and that these incentives only comes from the company's investments alone. This equates to the percentage of the taxes that Advanced Tech pays on the $10 million of new investment. And if the required benchmarks set forth in the agreement are not met, no incentive is given. Again, this comes at no risk to the taxpayers and citizens of Johnston County. As with all economic development incentive grants, this has been vetted and approved by the Economic Development Advisory Board, a board that consists of 14 business, civic, and community leaders representing every municipality in Johnston County. As always, this project and investment projections have been evaluated by Dr. Mike Walden, retired professor and economist from North Carolina State. His report shows that the monetary investment as well as the job and ancillary job growth is projected to be over $13 million annually for the county. Again, new investment, no risk. We respectfully ask the Johnston County Commissioners to consider an economic development incentive grant and agree to the spec building lease program presented before you and awarded to Advanced Tech. Again, Advanced Tech is only eligible after the project is completed and the requirements set forth in the agreements are met. And at this time, before I introduce Ms. Jennifer Slusher to go over the project summary, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. But in meeting with Advanced Tech, I'm tremendously excited about this. This is a locally owned small business based out of Richmond that has selected Johnston County. They could have settled anywhere in the Triangle region, or they could have made this investment in Richmond. The great thing about this is that majority of their companies that they work with are in the Triangle region, but also in the northeastern part of the United States. And they're going to become my new best friends because hopefully they'll introduce me to those companies considering this area and making sure that they consider Johnston County first because of our pro-business and green tape, not red tape philosophy. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Jennifer, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions now as well.
Any questions from Chris?
I want to make sure to clarify.
Okay.
The total building is going to be how big?
Close to 100,000 square feet.
And they're going to take 40 and...
That's correct.
And the other part will be our new lease program.
Exactly right.
Okay.
And there'll be a divider there. And as I was mentioning to Chairman Harris earlier, just in October alone, we have missed out on over 5 projects in the month alone because we do not have product.
Right.
So it's our hope that this 70,000 square feet will be an attractive location for future opportunities to grow jobs and investment.
Okay. I'll call Ms. Slusher, our county attorney, to present the county's incentive proposal.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I offer for your consideration a resolution attaching a proposed economic development incentive grant and a memorandum of understanding for the proposed project by Advanced Tech LLC and as described by Mr. Johnson. Prior to getting into the details of those documents, I wanted to take a moment to refresh your recollection as to what you are to consider when reviewing these incentive grant opportunities. There are several factors in which you are to consider in making your determination, the first being job creation, second, capital investment, third, competition, and fourth, whether or not the project diversifies the economy. While all of those factors are important, the job creation component is the one that most would consider to be the most important factor. So in keeping those factors in mind, I'd like to review the proposed framework of the proposed agreements with Advanced Tech. And this is a little different than what you have done in the past. You've got 2 agreements to consider today. The first being the incentive grant agreement, and then the second being the memorandum of understanding relating to the speculative building space that will be constructed on the project site. As to the incentive agreement, as Mr. Johnson noted, this is a proposed $10 million capital investment to develop and construct approximately 100,000 square feet of Class A manufacturing space for manufacturing, distribution, and warehouse space off of Highway 70 in the Wilson's Mills Township and the town of Smithfield, ETJ. This location is strategically important to Johnston County and will serve as a catalyst for future development in that Highway 70 corridor. The employment commitments for this particular project are solid. The company is committing to not less than 20 permanent full-time positions at the project site with an average salary of $100,000. The capital investment is proposed to be completed by December 31st, 2022, and the job creation completed by December 31st, 2023. The incentive proposal is a cash grant made in 5 annual payments beginning March 15th, 2023, and continuing through March 15th, 2027, which are all quantified and measured as 50% of the ad valorem taxes paid during that investment period. If incentives are granted to Advanced Tech agrees to make all of these eligible capital investments by December the 31st, 2022, attain their employment goals by December 31st, 2023, and they will provide a certification of all the investments which are reviewed by Mr. Johnson's office, my office, and the Johnston County Tax Office. The grant payments to Advanced Tech are conditioned upon Advanced Tech paying in full its ad valorem tax bills for that year for all of the property that they own that's situated in Johnston County, and they have to be current on all payments owed to the county. Further, they've got to be current on the filing of their annual property tax listings, and they cannot have any pending appeal with the Property Tax Commission. And they cannot be in violation of any other obligations to the county, including county ordinances and regulations. There are recapture provisions in the proposed agreement if Advanced Tech does not carry out and maintain the terms of the agreement. And so that is the summary of the Economic Development Agreement. Now let's talk about the Memorandum of Understanding. The county recently implemented its Speculative Building Assistance Program. This program seeks to make Johnston County more competitive and address the shortage of ready-to-go industrial, assembly, manufacturing, distribution, and warehouse space. With this program, we partner with developers to provide shell-ready Class A space. And this program seeks buildings to be constructed of a certain size with certain specifications, including things like tilt-up concrete, bay loading areas, ceiling heights of 30 feet or greater, and those types of things. So it's really the kind of product that companies are coming to Chris for that we don't have. So that's the point of this particular program. In this case, as Mr. Godwin and Mr. Johnson talked about just a bit, Advanced Tech only requires 32,000 square feet for its project, and that's what they originally intended to build. After further discussion, Advanced Tech is willing to participate in this Speculative Building Assistance Program and will cause to be constructed a 98,280 square foot facility. This spec space would provide 68,886 square feet of speculative building space to address the shortage of ready-to-go space in Johnston County. The Memorandum of Understanding provides that once the certificate of occupancy is issued, Johnston County will then lease the spec building space for up to 24 months and pay rent in an amount not to exceed $11,481.05 per month after the completion of the building. In the event that the lease is terminated, which we hope it is, as the result of the sale or lease to a new user, then any prepaid rent that is received from Johnston County would be reimbursed. Our experience leads us to believe that having this space ready will provide for an opportunity for expansion or new investment, and it is our hope that this obligation of the county under the Memorandum of Understanding will be short-lived. Now, considering the proposals for incentives that have been presented, let's consider again the factors that you are required to consider prior to deciding how you'd like to proceed. First of all, with job creation being the number one issue, does the project provide or create a substantial number of permanent jobs? In this case, we will have job creation of not less than 20 jobs with an average salary of $100,000. According to the Walden report that Mr. Johnson referred to, private sector direct and indirect job creation as a result of this investment are 55 new jobs. Capital investment, does this project increase the tax base? The proposed capital investment is $10 million. According to the Walden report, the private sector annual operating impact, taking into account all direct, indirect, and induced impacts from the development, it is estimated to be in excess of $15.9 million. The third factor to consider is an initial but-for determination. In other words, was there a competitive situation, and but for the inducement, did the developer choose to locate in Johnston County? The answer to that question is yes. This was a competitive situation in which we were competing with several locations in various states. The project does meet all of the county's incentive policies for this type of project. Both the Economic Development Incentive Grant and the Memorandum of Understanding meet all of the policies and the programs as we have talked about previously. The other factor is that final approval of any project has to be made in public, properly noticed. This meeting was properly noticed. And the last requirement, well, the second to the last requirement is that a written agreement will govern the implementation of the requirements between each of the parties and commitments. And that is, those written agreements are in draft form, but they are attached to the resolution that you've been provided today. The last thing to consider is diversification of the economy. Diversification of the economy alongside job creation and increasing the tax base is an indicator of net public benefit arising from an incentive. And diversification of the economy refers to significant impacts on sectors of the economy or making a location attractive for additional development. This is all addressed in the Walden report that we've discussed with you. And importantly, having spec-ready space available to attract new businesses and finding an end user that will bring jobs to the county meets this purpose. This project meets all of the above referenced criteria should you choose to approve it, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about this project that you might have.
Any questions? Comments? Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
All right. It's still a public.
Commissioner, and Commissioners, I wanted to, before I introduce our individuals from Advanced Tech, a couple of things for the public, maybe watching. What is Advanced Tech and what they do? They work with our pharmaceutical companies in building clean rooms. And actually, they were going to work with us or through Novo when we did the biotech center upgrades there. So there was one of their clean rooms, and that I found out later that we were hopefully trying to use, and after they had finished using it there during the construction time period. So we've already formed a great relationship here already, and we're looking forward to continue that. So at this time, what I'd like to do is introduce Brian Pelham with Advanced Tech, and then he can introduce his colleagues, Drew Fisher and John Burton, for any comments and questions.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. And on behalf of Advanced Tech, Brian Phelan, I'm a managing partner of our company. We're thrilled to be in front of you this morning. As Chris just mentioned a moment ago, we have John Burton, who is the founder of Advanced Tech and majority owner. I'm John's business partner. And we also have Drew Fisher, who is our director of operations and will be a resident in this facility once it's constructed, running its operations, serving our clients, and taking care of our people. As Chris and Jennifer both said, this was a competitive evaluation for us. We're fortunate to be in a business where we serve world-class customers throughout the United States, and we're on the cusp of potentially doing some things with some clients outside of the United States. As Chris mentioned a moment ago, we served the Novo Nordisk project here in Johnston County. We've also been pleased to do business with Grifols in the past. And this facility will allow us to really differentiate ourselves in the marketplace, upgrade those services to those clients, and serve the biotech community here in the greater North Carolina region, but also well outside of North Carolina. It really truly is, for us, the working relationship that we established with Chris early on that became a bit of a game changer for us in terms of where we were looking. And I would tell you that the incentives that Jennifer and Chris have brought before you for your consideration were what changed our sense of thinking, going from the original 32,000 square feet project to the 98,000 plus square feet. So if you could look upon that favorably, we would like to move forward with that project on that grander scale and take ourselves and along with us Johnston County hopefully to the next level, right? So thank you.
Absolutely. Any questions or comments?
No.
Thank you for your investment in Johnston County. We wish you the best of luck, and we'll be here for you to support you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, this is a public hearing. Does anybody in the audience would like to speak to or against this project, this proposal? If none, any final
Mr. Chairman,
comments?
I have a final question. Perhaps I should have addressed it when council was up here, but I was thinking through the whole process. The client will own the entire building. That will be the owner. But should they sell it or lease it to someone else? And if that, now, it's got then one tax account, if you will. If that client fails to meet any of the requirements of the incentive grant, what will the grant have to do with as far as the taxable value of the property or part of the property? Does that make sense?
Well, fortunately, in this particular situation, the commitments all lie with Advanced Tech. So Advanced Tech is responsible for the job creation. Advanced Tech is responsible for the ad valorem taxation and all of those sorts of things. No incentives will be paid to any party other than Advanced Tech under this agreement. And keep in mind also with regards to the agreement that Advanced Tech, its grant is based upon the ad valorem taxes that are paid. So it's 50% of the ad valorem taxes that are paid. With regards to that speculative building site, frankly, it doesn't really matter because the commitments are with the other side.
I'm settled.
Yes,
I understand now.
Thank
It's
you.
a moot question. I think I've thought through it with your help.
Mr. Walden?
I did have a couple of questions, and probably maybe of both Mr. Johnston and Ms. Lusser, but the incentive grant, or I understand we're very familiar with that. We've done that many times, but I believe this is the first time we've entered the memorandum of understanding for a lease agreement. So I wanted to make sure some of the numbers in my head were right. It looks like it works out to about $2 a square foot, which seems to be
That is correct. Well, actually,
a very small portion of what an actual lease would be.
Exactly. If you recall, we based the memorandum of understanding back during budget season on $3 a foot.
That's right.
But since we are offering an economic development incentive grant, our board recommended $2, so we're not giving them the full $3, and that was something that Brian and his team understood. Because we kind of said you can't have the maximum of both. And so we worked it out to where the recommendation would be less than which would be $2. So it's about a little over $11,000 a month that we would be paying.
Okay, and I guess looking at worst case scenario, and I'll let you get back to the best case and probably actual case is the county would be out of pocket over that 2-year period. $275,000 would be.
That's
if
correct.
it didn't get leased.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And now for the more positive spin, what has been your experience, and I think we probably know the answer to this, but for the public, what has been your experience with the need for warehouse space, not just in Johnston County, but in the region, and how quickly has that gone? And then the other counties that are doing something similar, what has been their success?
I'll be more than happy to talk about those things.
You mean Class A?
Class A.
Right.
We're competing against
Thank you.
Wilson, Chatham County, with the new Moncure site that's being under development. We're competing with Lee County and the Carolina facility that they have there. They've already landed 2 gene therapy companies that both of those were in Johnston County and visiting us. One of them actually was, don't tell Mayor Parker, but we actually met with them at the Forks Business Park, but we didn't have a building, so they went to Lee County. And so it's hopefully that tools like this will stop that bleeding and keep those high-paying jobs here in Johnston County. So since COVID, we've turned away over 60 projects because I don't have an existing building. The average size is 100,000 square feet, but that's anything between 50 up to 150,000 square feet. So I think this is a step in the right direction, and it keeps us in the game longer. So
I commend you and the company for creating this or crafting this innovative approach. I think it's a win-win for everybody.
for those that are trying to figure out where exactly this is located, it's in between Studio TK and the Allied Van facility there on US 70, kind of catty corner across from the Catholic Church. They're going to be investing a lot of money just in infrastructure alone to get to the back 12 acres. So they're going to be basically creating a 12-acre park there. The exciting thing about that is as they develop that and extend the road, the water, the sewer, there's an additional 10 acres there in the middle. So there's also a future opportunity for development based on their investment.
Yeah, I just think back, I guess it was budget time when you were making your president and throwing baseballs at us, and we talked about increasing the tools in the toolbox. It seems like recently we've added the Class A office space as one of the categories that we could do the incentive, and now this lease agreement is yet another tool for you to bring
and not to
industry
get sidetracked
jobs.
on this exciting project, but just to let you know that there's a lot of people interested in the lease program. The unfortunate situation is the advanced tech team can attest, construction materials have gone through the roof. And so a lot of people are kind of a little apprehensive right now of having a 6-month lead time on steel and paying 50% more than what it was 12 to 15 months back. So hopefully this will get us, in, like I said, in the right direction. So thank you very much.
All right. Any more comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we adopt a resolution approving the Economic Development Incentive Grant Agreement.
Second it.
Got a motion, got a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do we need to approve the memorandum separately, or is that?
No, it's part of the resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, Public Utilities 210 Wastewater Treatment Facility Construction Contract, Award, and Budget Revision. Call on Ms. Farmer.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, I would like to say to Chairman Stewart, thank you for your service to the county and your support of the Department of Public Utilities. I really appreciate it, and wish you the best on your future endeavors.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We received bids on October 7th for the long-anticipated 210 wastewater treatment facility project. This is the 4 million gallon a day plant to be located on County Home Road. You may recall that the board has previously accepted a loan offer back in June for $83,351,542 to go towards the project. We received 4 bids on this project. The low bid was from Adams Robinson Enterprises of Dayton, Ohio. And the bid included several options for bid alternatives and bid deducts depending on the options we wanted to pursue. And you will see as I continue my presentation that we are recommending the base bid to Adams Robinson plus a deduct aluminum feeders to make the total bid for Adams Robinson $68,754,000. So I know there was a little bit of question and concern on how we came back to that number, but if you review the detailed bid tab that we provided, it is Adams Robinson's base bid and the alternative A3. That is a deduct. So it's those two items combined is how we came to the proposed award amount for Adams Robinson. I presented to you a proposed revised project budget, and you will see in the budget that although we accepted the additional loan amount in June, we did not revise the project budget at that time. So you can see the proposed project funding has increased substantially from the previous budget because, again, we did not revise that project in June. I would like to note that this project, the original loan appropriation and the construction projects included in this project are not just this 4 million gallons treatment capacity at the wastewater plant. It will include this construction project, our biosolids improvements that are required to go along with the treatment capacity, and the effluent line, the effluent force main, where we will discharge the treated effluent from this plant back to our existing discharge location at the Neuse River. So we bid the first of the 3 projects. We bid the plant. The other 2, the biosolids and the effluent line, will be coming in the future. In fact, we're bidding biosolids later this week. That's bid on Thursday. The bid for the wastewater plant project from Adams Robinson was, of course, higher than our engineer's estimate from what we had anticipated. So this does, of course, push our project beyond the existing budget when we add all three project components. What we are looking at right now is, of all three projects, of course, this is projections for the biosolids and projections for the effluent line. We're anticipating about $122 million total for the three projects combined. We currently have, as I mentioned earlier, just over $83 million in SRF loan funding from the Division of Water Infrastructure. Our intent is to go back to the Division of Water Infrastructure and ask to increase that loan amount by 10%, which is typically allowed. We've talked with staff, and that is something that is certainly an option that we anticipate being approved. That would increase our loan amount to $92 million. With the $92 million loan towards a potential $122 million project, we would have a project deficit of approximately $30 million. What we would recommend is in the spring, the Division of Water Infrastructure has received additional American Rescue Plan Act funding. So the county has an appropriation that we can use for utilities, but also an appropriation went to the state that would be distributed through similar to their SRF program. We are told there's going to be a spring funding round, and we would be able to apply for additional ARPA funds from the state at that time. So what we would like to do is we'll proceed with our biosolids bid, and we'll hold off our effluent line project and bid that late spring or early summer after we have an opportunity to apply for this additional ARPA funds that should be available through the state. Now, we do have enough. If we did not secure that, we could utilize our ARPA funds to complete the project. But the intent would be to try to get that additional funding through the state so we can stretch our ARPA funding as far as possible.
That's the full 30 million?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, I don't think, they may have a cap on it. We don't know where that'll go, but we certainly would want to apply for as much as we could from the state.
One quick question. If we modify the loan commitment from the state, what would it do to the interest rate?
Typically, the interest rate remains the same. In the past, when we've increased by 10%, it has remained the same. And this one is 1.1% for 20 years.
Good.
So we would anticipate that to be the same. Of course, if they do accept that, and if they will increase the loan, that loan offer the revised loan offer would come back to the board.
Right.
So what we would like to do in order to proceed with the construction award for the plant project, and we need to get that project under construction so we can have it online by late 2024. With the current, you will see the current proposed budget, which fully covers the plant construction project. All of the technical services for actually all three projects is included in this budget. And it includes the existing loan and appropriation from our sewer funds, from our system development fee revenues.
Any questions or comments from Ms. Farmer?
So I did have, hopefully an easy one. I know the original budget that we had set up was 33 million, but I also know from conversations that number was anticipated to be higher. Maybe it wasn't put in the budget revision, but can you kind of walk us through and the public through how we got, because when I'm looking at 33 versus 68,
Right.
That looks like a big difference, but I know there's reasons.
Right. So the initial loan offer that we received from the state was the $30 million loan. So we accepted that loan offer and applied it towards the project at that time. We did not revise the budget until, of course, when we accepted additional loan, we did not revise the budget, and that's why it goes from the $39 million to the $83 million. We knew it was going to be a larger project at the time, but we were approving the budget as we had the funds available to go towards it and appropriate towards it. So we accepted the original $30 million loan, and so we were able to proceed with engineering and design and get through all the technical aspects of the project.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we award the contract and make the budget revision.
Got a motion?
Ask more questions. I had to go ahead and make.
We do that in discussion, yeah.
I'm sorry, I thought you were through.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion, we got a second. Further discussion.
So I did want to make sure, I know we're looking at 4 million gallons a day, and you can correct me if I'm probably wrong on this, but that we're building a 4 million gallon plant, but actually 2 million is going to be taken offline from the existing plant, so it's kind of a net of
It's a net
2 million.
of 2 million gallons a day. We're proceeding with, what's holding us back from being able to add a full 4 is nitrogen. You know, the limitation we have related to nitrogen. We have a separate project that was actually part of our revenue bond package that y'all approved to secure that additional nitrogen. Once we have that, we'll have 2 options. One is to re-rate, bring that existing older plant capacity back online at the old plant. We could rate that back. Or we can proceed with adding 2 million gallons a day or 4 million, whatever we want to add at the new plant. There was an alternative, a bid alternative in the bid tab that you have here to add 2 million gallons a day at the plant. It's not full construction for it, but it's concrete and piping to start that. Many of the project components already will get us to 10 or 12 million gallons a day. For example, the influence screening, some of our clarifiers. Those are rated for well beyond the 4 that we are anticipating as the first phase. So when we come back to expand this plant, we won't be doubling that initial cost. We would just have several components to be added. So we do have that, part of that in this bid tab. I recommend that we hold off on committing financial resources towards that next 2 or 4, whatever we decide to do, until we get these 3 initial projects that we need in place and committed.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I just think that when we're looking at a net of 2 million gallons and knowing the requests that are out there from our municipalities and the requests yet to come, that's not going to get us very far. Right. So as we look forward, that 2 or 4 million gallon, assuming it's financially feasible for us to get that done, is kind of smart planning on our part, not to do something and be just as behind as we are now. So. And
our capital improvements plan, if you go back and take a look at it, in fact, we're updating it now, but it has that too, literally right behind this. Yeah. I mean, the intent. We'll be evaluating our options as we start construction, and we look at our funding that we are able to secure, and then we can make some decisions on when we go ahead and add that.
Okay. Thank you.
I have one other question too, Mr. Chairman. I noticed of the 4 bidders, 3 of them are from North Carolina, and they all have very similar bids, but the lower bid is considerably lower, enough to maybe look past the fact that they're from out of state. But is there any concern about that bid being considerably lower than those other 3, which were consistent with each other?
Right. We've had no concern from the bidder. They anticipate that everything's included in their bid. There's been no concern from them.
History with them?
We have not worked with Adams Robinson in the past. This would be our first project with them. They typically do larger projects like this. Of course, this would be the largest construction project that the Department of Utilities has undertaken. We did have good references from them, and all of the bidders were pre-qualified. We went through a pre-qualification process.
Okay. All right.
Anything else? All right, we got a motion, we got a second. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda, Public Utilities, Ingram's Township Water District Hydraulic Improvements Construction Contract Award and Budget Revision. Calling you again, Ms. Farmer.
So move we sit at Ingram's Township Water District.
Second it.
Got a motion, got a second. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All right, we're now sitting as Ingram's Township Water District.
Okay. Ingram's Township Water District received bids on October 7th for the hydraulics improvements project. This is a project where the Water District previously accepted a loan offer in May of 2020 for the project. We received 7 bids. The low bid was Ralph Construction Company of Wilson in the amount of $2,535,563.50. You can see the proposed project budget before you compared to the existing project budget. We were relatively lucky on this one and came in pretty close to the original estimate. We're proposing to continue, of course, to fund the project through the SRP loan, 1.42% for 20 years. And then the balance, just over $100,000, would be from the Water District Fund Balance account. We recommend award of the project to Ralph Hodge Construction in the amount I previously stated, approval of the revised project budget, approval of the capital project ordinance, and the award resolution contingent upon funding agency approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from Mr. Farmer? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr.
Chair, make a motion, we approve all those things that Ms. Farmer just mentioned in her last statement.
Sounds like a nice motion. All right, we got a motion, we got a second. I'm sure there's no more discussion. All in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed?
Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Farmer.
So move we adjourn as the Ingram Township Water District Board.
Second.
Got a motion, got a second. All in favor? Aye. All right. We're no longer Ingram Township Water District. All right. Budget revisions.
Mr. Chairman, I'll save some time here, and I move we adopt the budget resolutions.
Second.
Got a motion, got a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. McLean. Great presentation.
I think we need to make Mr. Chad earn his pay.
Yeah. Next on the agenda, delinquent tax collection report. Ms. Andrews.
Good morning, Commissioners.
morning.
First of all, Mr. Chairman, offer congratulations on your new role. We wish you the best in your new position, and we thank you for your many years of service to this county, and you will be missed.
Thank you very much.
Before you have the September collections report. As you can see, for the basic levy, we collected slightly $2 million more year-to-date over last year at the same time period, which results in a 1% plus increase. And registered motor vehicles is up slightly. We're kind of pacing a little bit ahead of last year, and we're up slightly at about 11%. I'll be happy to take any questions at this time.
Any questions for the tax administrator? If none, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Manager reports and comments. We have anything there, Mr. County Manager?
Good morning, everybody. I would just ask if, I know there's a request for closed session today. Could y'all take a couple of minutes to do that thank you to the veterans for the Veterans Day ceremony before you do that?
Did I screw it up?
No. I know Mr. Smith came in. I know you'd done a couple of practice takes.
Okay, we'll be fine.
That's all right.
Be fine. All right, board reports and comments.
Yeah, I've got a couple things, Mr. Chairman. At our last meeting, I think when we purchased an option to buy land out here beside of our detention center, we seem to be searching for a use of that land. I would invite our citizens, if they would bring me suggestions on use of that $450,000 for other things, like a veterans center or something like that. Maybe we could weigh one against the other. The other thing is, Sergeant Major Durham did not mention this, and I'll do it in his behalf. Next Wednesday is the anniversary of the birthday of Marine Corps. So to all Marines, happy birthday.
Happy birthday. All right, any more discussion? I think we do need to handle one item as chairman. It's my responsibility, what little time I have left, to facilitate the process of, ironically, this board and filling my position out for the remainder of the year. This, for the audience and this board, you're not voting on a chairman. You're voting on someone to fill out District 3 seat. So this board can do obviously whichever it chooses. We can go through an application process. Mr. Lusher, would you mind briefing the board on exactly how this process works, and for the public, so they can understand how to navigate through this?
Yes, sir, I'd be happy to. When a vacancy occurs in the Board of Commissioners, and there's not a lot of time left on the term, which is your situation here today, the process is that the Board of Commissioners selects the person to replace the vacancy. The person to replace the vacancy must be a member of the party of the person who is vacating the position. So in your case, the person would need to be a Republican. The person would also need to live within the district that you represent. So that is who can fill the vacancy. The second part of that is how exactly is that done. The statutes don't really say how you have to do it. The only requirement is that as part of the process you consult with the party. In this particular instance, you can handle that however you want to. It just requires a consultation. It does not require that there be consensus or agreement between the Board of Commissioners and the party, but certainly there is a requirement that you consult. The final determination with regards to filling the vacancy rests with this board.
Ironically, I've been a part of this process twice. I was involved once, how I got on this board, and then I was involved with filling a seat. And in every case is different. Every situation is different. The rules are not different. The rules are the same. But the process for this board, like you said, it's a very short time left. Ironically, filing period is going to be basically a month away, where anyone in District 3 has a chance to run and be voted on by the public. I know in the past we put a three-man committee member board together, and we took applications. We opened up application period for a certain amount of time. And, I mean, it does not mean we have to do that. This board does not have to go that route. If they've got someone that they think is qualified to fill my seat, once again, once they decide, it might be after filing period or it might be before. But when I got appointed and went through the process, there was a lot more time left. And so, and it did fall right on top of filing period. So this board, keep it in mind.
I think we would clearly have to consult with the party as a requirement.
That's correct. That is a requirement of the statute.
I feel like the last way we handled this with Mr. Branch, I think, was fair to the party and to the board. And I mean, I don't feel like it would be giving the citizens of your district a good chance if we don't open some kind of period for people to put their name in the hat for this position. I mean,
I agree. I think it ought to be advertised and solicit applications and deal with it from there.
I don't think time should be
the time requirement is
60 days.
About 60 days to fill this seat.
Yes.
Okay.
I'd rather do it sooner.
I'm just facilitating the process. I'm not part of the process.
And we will do whatever the board directs.
I have no influence on what this board wants to do. Once again, y'all just figure out the process you want to go down.
Because for all practical purposes, there's still a year left on the term, right?
Right.
That's correct.
Yeah. I haven't been part of the process before, but it seems to me for the board that it would be nice to have a replacement when you're gone in December. I don't know if that's too expedited a process.
You could make that work.
But my recommendation would be, because that's when you're also going to elect officers for this board, and I think it's important for that person to be able to elect his officer. So, yes, I mean, him, her, whoever, whatever you decide.
How about if we have applications in by the time we meet next, 2 weeks from now?
So why don't you start it tomorrow, 8 o'clock, and close it out next Tuesday at 5 o'clock?
Yep.
See what you get. Then review the applicants, set up interviewing. Let's just wait and see if we get any applicants first, and then we'll put a committee together. Does that sound fair?
How are you going to go about consulting with the party?
Just tell them who we picked.
No, if you consult with the party, you get their opinion before you pick them.
That's right.
Prior to when Mr. Branch left,
do we have a volunteer?
We had 3 commissioners that met with party representation and reviewed the applicants. And then the party has an opportunity to give a voice. The commissioners make the decision, but the party does have an opportunity to have a voice in the process.
Correct.
I don't mind that process, but I've been involved with it once before. It always ends up being, creates hard feelings either through the commissioners or the party. As far as, I think we have to consult with the party and tell them this is who we're looking at. But if I don't like the process of them interviewing for what we do here.
How about this, guys? Because I've been through it twice now myself, and I was heavily involved in it. How about if we solicit applicants and put that group together and sit down with party representatives and go over those applicants, just us, not the applicants, and get their input, and then we'll make the final decision from those applicants with the party input.
I think I would agree with that.
Does that agree?
I'd like to volunteer to be part of that process.
Okay, we got one.
I'll be part.
You?
I'll do it.
Okay. We got 3 commissioners that'll be involved in the process. That'll be contacting the party, contacting the applicants. For the public, I think this board just decided that tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, It will be accepting applications, and it will close out at 5 o'clock next Monday. Is that correct?
That's
good with
up
the
to you.
Yeah.
And I'll work with the clerk, and we'll get those applications ready to be released tomorrow.
Is there an advertisement process to this?
What we
Or
will
did I just
do,
do it?
well, you just did it, and then we will advertise it through our social media outlets. We'll put it on our website. We'll get the information out.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, it sounds like we came to a consensus. That's not as painful as I thought it would be.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a need for a closed session?
Yes, sir. I move that the board go into closed session for purpose of consulting with an attorney employed by the board in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A3 to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industry or other business in the area pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A4, and to establish or instruct staff concerning the negotiations of the private terms of a contract concerning the acquisition of real property pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A5.
Second.
We got a motion, we got a second. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? We're in closed session.